Okay, I'm going to tell you something that I hope amuses you. A couple of years ago, on the TCM Classic Film Cruise, I did an interview with Roger Corman. I was on stage with Roger Corman, and we did an interview. And I was, of course, politely talking all about Corman's wonderful career, but then I said, you know, this guy really is going to go down in history as the greatest discoverer of talent and nurturer of talent. And I went through the litany of filmmakers that have gone through the Corman studio, right? Peter Bogdanovich and Scorsese. I mean, it's endless. And he's sitting right on the stage. He says, and don't forget Carl Franklin.
Oh, sweet, sweet, sweet.
You know, so what was your experience like with Roger? Don't tell me something bad now.
No, you know, I was at the AFI, and at the first year, you do these little kind of exercises, you know, in video, and they tell you not to show them. Well, everybody shows them, you know. And I got an opportunity. There was someone who saw one of my, you know, little exercises and sent it over to Corman. And he had, you know, he hadn't seen it, but he had these producers who saw it, and they said, "Hey, man, you know, you can go over and direct a movie in the Philippines." Well, the problem was once I got there, I realized that I was there because nobody else wanted to be there. You know, there was an active, you know, rebellion going on with the New People's Army, and I mean, it was like, you know, it was a very dangerous situation that I walked into. Yeah, but Roger, you know, the thing when you worked with him, he would let you, you know, he'd let you make a movie, but you know, the kind of mantra that you had was the same thing that he said to Ron Howard, which is, if you do a good job for me, kid, you'll never have to work for me again.
Yeah,
You know, that was
that's true.
that was what we all kind of kept in our heads, you know.
It's pretty classic. Okay, we're gonna. Ryan is actually here somewhere with a microphone. So if any of you have questions, specific questions for Carl about this film or anything else, here is your opportunity.
Well, The Life of Riley was a show that, you know, was popular at that time. You know, I guess you know, that was the advent of television, really, and so it was one of the few shows that was on in 1948. I guess it was on. We were pretty accurate about that. I'm not sure what you mean about the other question.
Phone conversation.
About the phone conversation. Oh, you know what we did was we actually hooked the phone up and had them speaking to the other character. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people do that now, but I mean, it's a really good way of getting a good performance, because otherwise, you've got like a script supervisor or someone else, first AD, or somebody else is on the phone, and they don't have the same. They're not going to have the same inflections or the same commitment to the material as an actor would. So yeah, that's. Yeah.
All right, we got another.
That's one, you know, negative about older films, is like a lot of the movies we're going to show this week, you're going to be able to tell that there is nobody on the other end of the phone. Okay, I mean, that's just the way they did it back then. It's like ... then proceed, you know, and it's like, you know. So I'm glad you appreciate when it looks well done and correct, you know. Yeah.
It was my decision. I had worked with Don in my student film at the AFI. I just had to get over the age difference, you know, because Don is younger than Denzel, and as I say, you know, we were concerned that they wouldn't look the same age when Denzel had come back from his vacation. But as I said, Denzel kept saying, "I'm going to be young, buddy. You know, I'm going to be the same age as him," and he was. When we made this one, we had optioned all three, the three existing books at the time, which was Devil in a Blue Dress, Red Death, and White Butterfly, with the intent of doing all of them. But several things happened. The executives at TriStar who greenlit the film and were there through the shooting of the film were not there when it was released, and so it kind of was somebody else's kid, you know, when the new regime came in. Plus, this genre, I mean, we're all here tonight because we like film noir, but it is not a genre that is a big box office draw. Chinatown is wonderful of a film as it is, I should say, as great of a film as it is, was not a big box office movie. L.A. Confidential kind of made some money after it got awards, but it wasn't either. It's just not for some reason, something that people rush out to be the first on their block to see. It usually takes some time, and it takes people. I mean, that's part of the problem, because a more mature audience is kind of more into film noir. And you know, we don't necessarily, you know, when you're an adult and you have kids and you have other responsibilities, you don't feel like you have to be the first on your block to stand in that long line to watch a movie. The money in a kid's pocket is liquid. It's there to be spent. And so that's why the industry is going more toward them, because one, you got the kid, you got his parents, you got the toys, you got them coming to see it many, many times. They're going to want to, you know, there's a whole business that's associated with movies that make money, make a lot of money. And film noir is for people who just like cinema. You know.
That's us.
Yeah. Well, and this is kind of a fascinating point, because people, you know, look, I got a TV show, right? I got a weekly TV show about film noir. And people refer to the film noir renaissance because we do these festivals all over the country now. But the truth is, in Hollywood, if you put noir, if you tag that on a script or something, they shove it right off the top of the desk. They don't want to hear about it, you know. There was only one film I know of that was ever marketed with the word noir in the ad campaign. And that was David Mamet's Spartan. No one in this audience has seen that movie, right? I mean,
I disagree. I saw it.
Okay, you've seen Spartan. It's your job. It's your job to have seen Spartan, okay? And it's not a bad movie or anything, but they said, oh, it's a modern film noir. And they market it as such, and like nobody had the slightest idea what it meant, you know? Personally, I mean, I think this is like a no-brainer for a series of films, but what I think killed it was that it was a period piece, you know, and that Hollywood is just like, no way, we're not going to do a period piece. We want Denzel Washington today, you know. We want the Equalizer, you know. We want Training Day Denzel Washington now, not 40s Denzel Washington, as unbelievably hot as he is in the movie. It's like, really? You can't see that? Anyway, so.
Got another question back here.
In the book, you know, the Easy character is kind of he's a little bit of an noir figure in a lot of ways, because, you know, most noir guys are cynical from the beginning, and then they teach you that the world is cynical. Easy starts out as an innocent who then goes through this subterranean journey where the cogs and the pulleys of the real American dream exist, and comes out the other end. But in the end, if you read the book, it's like kind of an uplifting ending. Well, I needed, in order for that to have that emotional swell at the end, you had to plant the seeds somehow of what it is that he is fighting for. And it was his house and his neighborhood. And I needed something active so that by the end of it, you would see that he's accomplished that, and there would be that emotion. And, you know, in neighborhoods, especially in poor neighborhoods, there's always that signature of the neighborhood. There's that crazy guy who, you know, is a nuisance. But if anything ever happened to that guy, everybody would be upset, because he's the signature. And so that's really why I invented that character, so that we could have that emotional swell at the end, which you have in the book. Because my interest was somehow trying to replicate the emotional impact that I felt when I read Walter's book. And that meant that sometimes you have to do some things in order to do that. I mean, there were several departures that we made. The character of, what's his name? I'm trying to remember now, man. The cat who was like running for mayor, who was Carter. Carter was a kingmaker in the book. He wasn't running for mayor. It was only suggested about Matthew Turan, as he was called in the book, about the child pornography. We had to make that active so that there was, you know, and Daphne Monet in the book was already out of the picture with Carter, and for some reason was hanging around. Somehow you can't do that in film. You know, you can get away with it in a book, but it's hard to do that because in film, in a book, the conflicts oftentimes are within the character, but in a film, it's between the characters because you want to see the visual, you know, dynamics. So that was the reason for that. The reason that we pulled out the romance because in order to, again, make things active, I needed for the romance between Carter and Daphne, which was, in the book we talk about her being in love with Carter, and she's upset because they gave her money to, you know, to basically scram to get out of town. Well, that became the active ingredient for us. That became the thing that drove the story. Why is she still around? Why is she not left if, in fact, she's already been given this money, as she was in the book, to leave, and there was no chance of a relationship with her and Carter? Again, because you want to see the conflict between the characters. So, because that relationship, the story hinged on that relationship, if she had a relationship with Easy, then the relationship with Carter has no value. So basically, we took that out because all it was in the book was basically kind of a dalliance. It wasn't as though that was the major relationship. Still, the relationship in the book was about Carter, but you know, you can do those things again in a book that you cannot do in film. And had we had her have a relationship with Easy, we would not have had any investment at all in her having a relationship with Carter. So that was the reason.
After One False Move, we're still going to be here. And we're going to hang around, and anybody who has questions about that movie, see us in the lounge afterwards, and we'll be ready to talk to you. So seriously, I hope you stick around. Carl, if you're leaving, thanks a million. Ladies and gentlemen, Carl Franklin.